I think in general, we're personality led. You will not find us go into a vertical heavily if we can't be great and unique at that vertical. Esports is one we have not cracked. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's being perfectly honest. Like, we haven't cracked esports. We have cracked finance because Dave is a unicorn and is an exceptionally captivating person. And Dave Portnoy talking about Wall Street, Dave Portnoy talking about picking stocks by virtue of a Scrabble bag. Like, that's funny. That's unique content. That's content that's very Barstool. We've done that in hockey. We've done that in sports media. We've done that in kind of like Cube Life. We've done it in
Female lifestyle.
Lifestyle. I'm trying to do it in business.
What is up, everyone? This is episode 4, and today we are talking the business side of Erika Nardini, the CEO of Barstool Sports. So I started working with Erika and Barstool almost 5 years ago. They had just 16 employees and were just a regional sports blog. Fast forward to today, and they're one of the biggest, fastest growing sports media properties. 180 employees, over 100 million in revenue, and one of the top podcast networks in the world. And last year, Penn Gaming, a sportsbook and casino operator, took a stake in Barstool, valuing the company at $450 million. But what's interesting about Barstool in comparison to other media companies is they haven't chased the algorithms, the growth hacks, optimizing their websites for Facebook and Google. They've always focused on personalities. That is how they drive growth. And that strict creator-led focus is what we talked about today. Specifically, Erika stands at this mosh pit of personalities, some of the craziest personalities on the internet, from Dave Portnoy to Big Cat to NFL legend Deion Sanders to Call Her Daddy star Alex Morgan. And I really wanted to figure out how she does it. So in this episode, we discuss why most media companies are really B2B, Barstool's value prop to creators, what she looks for in new talent, what content verticals Barstool is targeting next, and what it's like being a content creator herself with the Token CEO podcast. But before we jump back into the episode, a quick plea: please make sure to rate and subscribe. It means a ton. If you're on YouTube, absolutely smash that like button. All of this helps a ton to get the podcast out there. Okay. All right. Enough of my PSA and plea. Let's get back into the episode. I was trying to think of a place to start this conversation, and I thought back to, we started partnering with you guys 5 years ago. And back then it was Dave, KFC, K Marco. And since then, you guys have obviously exploded. And that explosion is mostly due to your ability to find talent. Mm-hmm. Whereas I'd say a lot of other media companies do these growth hacks like, okay, let's do a really good list, or let's do these different ways to kind of optimize for Google and Facebook. Whereas you guys have really focused on, you signed Call Her Daddy, Spitting Chicklets, Deion Sanders. Why do you guys think you're so good at finding talent?
I think that most media companies are B2B companies at their core. Like, they think first about monetization and advertisers and partners versus thinking about their fans. And I think what's really different about Barstool Sports is that we think about our fans first and foremost, and then we find a way to monetize after. I think there's a couple things that have really enabled us to stand out, which is, one, we're a place where talent wants to work because we create an immense amount of freedom. We can pour gasoline on them and make them incredibly famous, blow them up. We back our talent, we stand by them. And, as you look to be funny in today's age, that's very difficult. So knowing that you work at a place that will have your back is important. And then I think the other piece of it is that's really what we care about as a company. Dave Portnoy, who founded Barstool Sports, is one of the greatest unicorns in creating content for the internet. And I'm a CEO that also loves content. So I think that the difference for us is we're doing what we love to do and creating a platform for people that they can pursue their angles, whether it's hockey, whether it's opinion, whether it's sex, whether it's entertainment, you name it. And what we keep an eye towards is productivity, engagement, and growth in terms of reach. And I think that's just very different when you look at HuffPost, or you look at BuzzFeed, or you look at Refinery or Complex, or really any big digital media company. They spend, they've either built an ad agency, which is for advertisers. They built a content production studio, which is to produce shows for other networks. Their machine isn't entirely focused on creating content for their brand, for their audience. And that's a big difference for us, I think, is frankly the simplicity of our focus.
And so for me, when you guys signed Deion Sanders, I did not know that Deion Sanders was going to fit in at Barstool Sports as well as he did. What does that conversation look like with someone like Deion, where he's moving from a traditional, ESPN or NFL Network background to Barstool?
Yeah, I mean, Deion, look, the thing that I love about Barstool Sports is I think we defy what anybody thinks Barstool should, quote unquote, look like. And I think that's what's been so exciting about the last 5 years is, we've made a lot of moves in places that I don't know that people thought we would go. Someone like Deion Sanders has been outspoken Deion Sanders' entire career.
True.
Whether it was on the field, whether it was as a Hall of Famer, whether it was at the NFL Network, he is a person who has a large opinion and a lot to say. And so in that regard, I actually felt really comfortable that Deion would fit in great here because he has what we love, which is a strong personality and something to say and a work ethic to see it through. I tend to feel very good if we start to look at talent where the talent themselves is directly engaged in the conversation. Deion and I did our partnership, Deion and I. Like, there wasn't a bunch of agents, there wasn't a bunch of lawyers, there weren't a bunch of intermediaries. And to me, that's extremely telling because it shows that the person is invested in what we've built. They're invested in driving what they do. And we together can conceive of what would happen next.
Did he view this as a way to kind of explore avenues that he couldn't at NFL Network because Barstool's just a much more new age platform?
Yeah, I mean, I think Deion Sanders at the NFL Network was in a box. He got a 60-second hit once a week.
Right.
It was very, very highly produced. He could say certain things and not say a lot of other things. Deion Sanders shows up with us and we're like, hey, Deion, like, I think he thinks we're weird and fantastical. And, it's kind of the Barstool effect where Deion would start wearing Barstool merch in the airport or out and about in Texas. And people would be like, Barstool Sports, Deion Sanders. So the other thing is I think he started to get a reaction for the first time with fans and to see new fans. The perfect example is, Dave and Josh Richards have BFFs, which is a show, ostensibly about TikTok.
Yep.
But it's also a great show. It's also a show about generations, right? And, you put Deion Sanders' picture in front of Josh Richards, who's 19.
Yep.
He doesn't know who he is. And so, what Deion Sanders has been very savvy about is now Deion Sanders, one, is showcasing a glorious personality. He has a platform to say and do really whatever he wants, which is to motivate people, talk about football, talk about, culture. And Deion Sanders and Josh Richards are now in the same pool, which is, that's what I love about Barstool. I don't think you don't find that in a business plan. You don't find that in a bunch of strategy sessions.
And now all the Stoolies are Jackson State fans.
Right. I mean, if you think about, Barstool Sports could be, we're filming a Hard Knocks right now at Jackson State around Deion's first season.
Yeah.
And, if you were to ask me 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 5.5 years ago, if we would be, creating huge amount of visibility for an HBCU in Mississippi, I would have said you're crazy. But that's what we're doing.
I mean, it's perfect. It's who you guys are. It makes sense. Yeah. But then on the other end, you have Alex Cooper, call her daddy. What does the pitch look like where she is a internet native, She was native to YouTube. When she views the Barstool relationship, she must view it differently than Deion does.
I don't know that it's that different. I think that both Alex and Deion have a vision and a concept for who they are on the internet and what they want to say. I think the best talent on the internet have a concept of who they are and what they want to project. You look at the Pauls, they have that. Dobrik has it. Josh Richards has it, right? The best gamers have it. Nick Merckx has it. I think the second thing that is very unique about Alex is that she edited most of her early work, and that also is a very good sign. I like talent that cares enough to edit what they're producing, because it shows that they not only have the intelligence and creativity and charisma to be in front of the camera, but they're also directing what's behind it, and they're creating that product together. But I think Alex is looking for the same thing, right? She wants to share her vision. She wants Call Her Daddy to be electric. We helped her bring that to every college campus, every city in this country. She was, when they joined, I think they had 3 episodes that were 12,000 views. Like it was very small compared to now. It's just a juggernaut brand.
She's got Miley Cyrus coming on the episode.
Right.
But then how does that conversation happen where Barstool's talent is typically Barstool's talent? Josh Richards is somewhat of an anomaly where he is not quote unquote Barstool talent, and that he's doing Barstool stuff all day. He's doing TikTok. He's dating Nessa. He's getting to TikTok controversies. He's doing Josh Richards things. At a certain point, do you worry that talent becomes free agents where they do Barstool over here and they do other stuff and they're not owned and operated by Barstool?
Yeah, I think, we're changing. If you looked back at 2016 and 2017, even really to a degree in 2018, you were Barstool. Like
right.
if you were, you were Barstool, but I think we've really expanded beyond that. You look at Paul Bissonnette, right? Like Paul Bissonnette's one of the stars of Spit and Chiclets. He works for the Arizona Coyotes and he works for Barstool Sports as part of Chiclets. I want to make it a place where he wants to be here full time and to do more together. And that's my goal. But it also, we're changing. Deion Sanders is a full-time, head football
That's
coach.
crazy to me.
It's funny, right?
But I believe he can do it. That's the crazy part about Deion.
There is nothing Deion Sanders cannot do. He has incredible will and extreme talent. But anyways, I think sometimes it's somewhat of semantics where, are you a full-time Barstool employee or are you just a Barstool personality? If you look at Josh Richards, what I think Josh has done a great job of is Josh and Michael Gruen are just in our mix. Like they're coming up with ideas.
Michael Gruen is something else.
100%. I'm like, Michael Gruen, please stop introducing me to people. But anyways, but I think people who embrace Barstool for what it is, which is like a mosh pit of creativity that you can zip in and zip out of. And if you can let go and just be in that mix, it's a really rewarding thing. I think the people who don't work here full time, who are like, I'm only doing my one podcast, I'm only showing up 1 hour a week, I'm only going to do this precise thing, those people do not get the most out of Barstool and they don't like Barstool. So to me, it's less so like contractually what's the relationship. It's more practically and emotionally, how invested are you in working with us to make something new?
Right. I mean, it goes back to what you just said about you and Deion negotiating the contract. He's a full-time coach, but he's invested enough where you're not talking through some CAA agent and you can't really get a read on if the talent.
I spent 3 weeks going to Texas and we hammered it out at his kitchen table. So it was like, this is going to work. So, that's what I'm excited about, is finding more people like that. And I think we've gotten so much bigger. So we're also more open and we're also more confident now, which is we know who we are. We know what we bring to the table. we know what can work, and we know way more about what doesn't work. So
Mhm.
we have a better aperture for who will work in our system.
So you guys have expanded into different content verticals. I think finance is coming and it's already there to some degree. I mean,
Yep.
Dave launched a fucking ETF.
Yep.
What is happening? You have esports. How do you think about entering new content verticals? Is it personality led? Is it opportunity led?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, really, I think in general, we're personality led. You will not find us go into a vertical heavily if we can't be great and unique at that vertical. Esports is one we have not cracked. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's being perfectly honest. Like, we haven't cracked esports. We have cracked finance because Dave is a unicorn and is an exceptionally captivating person. And Dave Portnoy talking about Wall Street, Dave Portnoy talking about picking stocks by virtue of a Scrabble bag. Like, that's funny. That's unique content. That's content that's very Barstool. We've done that in hockey. We've done that in sports media.
Mm-hmm.
We've done that in kind of like cube life. We've done it in
Female lifestyle.
lifestyle. I'm trying to do it in business. So, I think, if you look at, another good example is we brought on Troops. So Troops is, the biggest Arsenal fan in the world. He has a big platform. I'm interested in EPL. I'm interested in an international fan base. I want to build that around this wild man, half Pakistani, half Jamaican, British guy.
I don't understand everything he's always saying,
No,
but I just can't
about
I can't get enough of it. Him and Big Cat's interaction
totally
is must watch on the internet.
Completely. But that's just it. Is, could we have a huge presence in the UK? Could we be a voice in covering Premier League soccer?
But that's a bit different than, let's say, The Athletic, who says, okay, we want to expand in the UK. We're going to grab the top journalists, versus you need someone like Troops to make that entryway into the UK to say, this is what we stand for.
Have a guy who no one can understand, who screams the word fuck every 12 seconds, and who is a rabid fan than any official journalist in the UK. And that's the difference. The Athletic has a box that they want to put people in. You need to write so many pieces every day. You need to produce X. We have our own requirements in terms of productivity, but frankly, we're just going to turn the camera on this guy and have him rail as much as he wants to rail. And we're going to mix him up in this mosh pit. And that is more, in my opinion, more captivating. It's messier. It's higher risk. It's less predictable. It's way less formulaic. But that's, I think, the beauty of the system and the platform that we're creating, is that we're pretty fluid and we're pretty loose at the knees.
Yeah.
And as a result, it keeps us very nimble, where we can triple down on something when it starts to work. We're also comfortable watching things do and grow, over time.
Sure. And then you mentioned you're getting into business. You're now a content creator now. Mm-hmm. What is that like?
I mean, I don't think I'm particularly good at it. I don't invest a whole lot of time in it.
I don't think that's fair.
I think I could do a better job. I feel like I am not naturally captivating as a personality. That said, I do think there's something very interesting about what I do every day. And I think that there is something unique about believing that, women can be whatever they want. You don't have to follow some path, and you don't have to ask someone for fucking permission. But the other piece of it is, the other piece of it is that having Token has actually made me a better CEO, because I have a very firsthand, intimate look at how our system runs. Mm-hmm. And how the sausage gets made, which is actually making me better at figuring out how we optimize and manage that. So that piece I'm most grateful for.
Yeah, I would say what you're doing a really good job of, and I see it mostly from your Instagram stories, is these communities you're building of women, whether it's, I'm going to jump on a Zoom call and we're just going to chat, or a Facebook chat. I think you're building community in a way that maybe other talent at Barstool didn't do.
Yes, I am. What I feel very grateful for is that somehow I've spawned other groups of people while I'm at work. The run club is a good example. I'm like, hey, let's go run 2 miles a day. Let's get through the pandemic. People took that and literally ran with it. I went back to work. I did my part. I did my 2 miles every day. And then people carried that forward. Same with Token, right? We have a massive Facebook group. We have
Mhm.
Work Like a Girl college network where women in college are coming together to support one another and talk about what their career path is going to look like. So I'm so fired up about that. But by virtue of the fact that I have an intense day job, I need to think about my platform as a platform that other people can make their own and take with them
Mm.
versus it being about me and me led.
Your output. Yeah. I will say I do like how you reduce the creative requirements where it's truly you raw turning on a camera, cussing, doing whatever. I mean, it's not this highly produced product because that's what you don't really want to put out.
Here's what I think. I think that one, this is my life and this is what it looks like, which I think ultimately most CEOs or most executives don't show. They would
Mhm.
rather it be scripted. They have a bunch of people around. Like I'm literally sitting alone in a room right now. No one here even knows that we're doing this interview. Like if
There's
in
not five PR people
no,
next to you.
like you have 10 times the staff I have on this. So I think that that's unique, but I think that's kind of the way the world is going.
Mhm.
um, I think that what you have to say and the way you distribute it is more important in a lot of cases than the packaging and the trapping around things. I think
Yep.
that the internet has changed that. I also, you look at TikTok and you look at Clubhouse and you look, basically it's the easier access to put the camera as close to your face as possible or the microphone as close to your mouth as possible, the better off you are.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I can do that. That's easier for me.
And then looking forward, you guys are owned by Penn,
A third owned.
a
Yep.
third owned by Penn. What is the goal? Is it the biggest media company in the world or is it the biggest sports book?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we talk about this all the time. Look, I think the media business is enormous.
Mm-hmm.
And there are businesses that we have yet to even scratch the surface of, right? You see Dave launching an ETF. Like, think what we could do in finance. Think about what we could do in the alcohol category. Think about what we could do in the nightlife and club category. Think about what we could do in CPG. Um, but we also, organically and pretty innately, we have the best gamblers on the internet. So, I think we'll ride a couple horses for as long as we can ride a couple horses. To be honest with you, the two businesses are very complementary. The bigger the cultural force that Barstool is, the bigger the media platform, the better off the sportsbook does. And so we will always think about those two things together.
So you think there can be multiple Penn horses? So what Barstool and Penn have done together can be done again?
No, I think that Barstool will ride the media horse and the sportsbook,
Got it.
and the two will go together.
I mean, Pink Whitney in the alcohol category
Totally.
shows your ability to double down even more there and build out, you know, who was to
We
say you
are
can't
not,
become the
yeah,
next Diageo or the next.
totally. 100%.
Hmm.
Why can't we be the Tao Group? Why couldn't we be Burger King if we wanted to do that? Why can't we be Robinhood? Why couldn't we be Casamigos?
Yeah,
Why can't I be CNBC? So
I'm
it's
ready
like,
for it.
me too. It's just a lot of fucking work. So it's like, so we got to figure out which we do first and what we do and how.
And then balance that all with managing, I don't know, the 70 to 100 of the craziest people on the internet.
Mhm.
Is that
Yeah,
exciting part of your job, managing talent? I mean, I deal with talent to some degree, but they don't work for me. They work for you. How is that?
I love talent. Talent is, it was so funny. I interviewed someone yesterday, like just talking about, do we have a head of talent here? A talent management group. We don't even have a talent management group. Every contract, Dave and I do. we manage most of our talent directly. I love that. It keeps me very close to the fire. I find it really rewarding. Talent's interesting. They're narcissistic, they're insecure, they're highly creative, they're very emotional. They can be exceptionally self-critical. Some of them are exceptionally lazy. So it's like you've got like this whole swath of people, and it keeps things really dynamic and interesting. And so I like managing talent. I feel very fortunate to work in a content business, and working in content means embracing talent. And can we do a better job of it? Definitely. But I think it's also part of what's made us successful is, we still run this like a really small company. It's really hands-on. There aren't a lot of layers. It's not, a creative person here doesn't talk to 500 people to get an idea produced.
Right.
Talk to 3, so I want to keep that, and I still have the energy for it. So that part's been great.
Okay. Final question.
Yes.
What would you say the biggest regret or thing you wish you could do over? We just hyped you up for 30 minutes. What would you say your biggest regret would be?
I don't know. I'm not a big regret person.
Michael Rappaport?
Oh, he's such a loser. Like,
he's not big enough for a regret.
I think people would say ESPN was what it should have been a regret, but I got to be honest. I think the ESPN cancellation really put us on the map. I think we've had so many micro regrets and mistakes that it's not really any one big thing. So I'm going to do a horrible job answering your question. I think my only regret would be and even though we move so fast, not moving even faster, not growing on, if we had really gotten on TikTok a year before we started to get serious about TikTok, I think that would have been really important for us. I regret that.
What about subscription?
No, I'm not interested in subscription.
But you did it. Would that be a regret to have tried to do subscription?
I don't regret it. I think we learned a lot from it. I'm glad we did it. I would not do it again. I think, the other thing I guess my only regrets are like, could we have managed certain talent like Pat better? Could we have built better, a better way of doing things sooner? I think I will have regrets on, could we make Rough and Rowdy a $50 million business, and we're not making it a $50 million business because we're doing 700 other things here.
Right.
So those are the things I think I will regret, or not regret, but I will,
learn from. Awesome.
All
Thanks,
right.
Erika.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, that's the episode, folks. Thank you for listening. And I'll leave you with that one quote from Erika, that most media companies are really B2B companies, in that they think first about monetization, advertising, and partners. And to me, it's very clear that Barstool does not think that way. They are personality and creator led, and that is what fueled their growth over the last 5 years. Now, I'll see you next week, but if you could please rate, subscribe. I read every review. The feedback is absolutely massive. Thank you.